All right. Good afternoon, VV Nation. Let me just grab this little comment thing. We're going to get started today. All right, Joey, let me grab this guy so I can see what you guys and gals are saying today. All right, there we go. We got Kara Blue, first comment of the day. Thank you for that, Joey. Hi, everyone. Hoping the weekend went well. I like it. I like it. Palm Beach in the house. Hello, VV. We got A. Johns. Alfreda. Hello from Chile, New Hampshire. I couldn't do it. I'm struggling here. It's 37. I can only imagine what it's like. My mom sent me a screenshot of her. You know, she's at the ski slopes up in Colorado. It was like 11 degrees, her walking to work. She's tough. I don't know why she chose that in retirement, but hey, it is what it is. All right, everybody. Welcome to Midday Market Action. I will say I got another good video for you tonight. Who liked Friday's video? Who watched that? Anybody see the potential I see with that company? No, I'm not going to say the name. You didn't watch it. You have to do it yourself. But anybody see the potential with that company, especially compared to some of the others utilizing the VectorVest software? Today, it's going to probably be the same, right? I'm going to utilize the software and say exactly why I'm picking this company other than some of the other favorites out there. Tonight's video, I'm not going to give you Fridays. I'll let you look for that one. But tonight's video, it's going to be on UAMY. We're going to touch on it a little bit today. Very little, because I'm not going to go into the news story. Well, I might in tonight's presentation. I'm waiting to record it so that way I can get a little bit more information before we go into the close. But other than that, I mean, the major indices down today. Nothing crazy, right? And I'm not even surprised by that, because guess what we got Wednesday? And this makes a perfect segue here in just a moment. But what do we have Wednesday? Anybody know? We're going to touch on it. We are definitely going to touch on it. But just looking at the major indices here, yes, they are struggling to stay in positive territory. If you look at the buy-sell ratio, right? Where's it at now? 0.61. So last week was in the 0.7s. I've said it before. It's not the rally we may have wanted, but it's the ones we've got. Ollie G says, hello, boss. Well, thank you. I'm pretty sure you meant to say, how's Glenn? And Glenn is doing good. Actually, just spoke with his wife earlier this morning. Might have a surprise for you guys in a couple weeks. I'm trying. If I can get him, like I said, I respect his opinion. A lot of people here watching respect his opinion. I want his picks too for 2026. So if I can get him on the channel, even as a guest, special guest, hey, I'm going to try. I love him. I love you guys. Ryan, I mentioned SMX last week. Ology, was that the one that just went parabolic SMX? I'm pretty sure it was. 6 to 400. I shorted it at 400. I'm not going to lie, Ology. It's probably pretty smart to short it at 400. Because the options probably were astronomical. Unless you have a small fortune, you probably couldn't afford an option. OMG, we might see Glenn. Alfred, I'm telling you, I'm trying. I'm going to see him Saturday. This Saturday, we've got the big VectorVest Christmas party. Woo, woo. Going to have some fun. He's going to be there. His wife's going to be there. Obviously, depending on... what is that noise coming through? Joey, that's on your end? You got some noise coming through? All right. Okay. I was like, what is that? God bless Glenn. I miss him to death. I learned a lot from him. You think you learned a lot? That man trained me for this position. Phenomenal guy. Bless him to death. I mean, just the one saying, trade the chart, not your heart. I mean, that if you can just listen to that one quote, let alone all the money you can save and heartache, but think about the profits you can get from that, right? Hey, is it normal for a stock to dip on dividend payment date? On the payment date, I would think the X date would be more important. Caribou, I'm not a dividend specialist. And as far as, if that certain date would prompt a stock dip, I'm not going to, you probably just Google that question, honestly. Like, they might be able to point you in a better direction, or look at Jim Penna. If you like dividend stocks, Jim Penna, he's a wizard. He helped me put a bag or insurance on a bag, QSI. Y'all remember that? This was this time last year when Glenn, we're going to talk about it. Glenn brought the quantum stocks to our attention, right? This, because I was just beginning my UAMY, call it speech, but UAMY research, rare earth research, because I saw the importance of that space. Can you please do a fundamental analysis of SMX and its business, please? Ali G, what's the valuation? What is the VectorVest value of SMX? Right? I can tell you, if the stock went from $6 to $400, you think the fundamentals caught up? I don't think so. I noticed dividend dips also. Now I have heard, I think it's the X date where you have to actually own it by. There could be a little dip, right? But I guess the payment date would make sense too, because you're gonna have to own it through the X date. So once you get paid for it and you can let go of the stock and not have to worry about it anymore, that makes sense. So I could see dips. Honestly, this is what I would do. This is what I would do, right? I'll tell you exactly what I would do if I'm asking myself this question. Let's just use Apple. I don't know which stock you're using, right? Check off dividends, right? X date, pay date, right? Look, pay, drop, pay, drop, pay, drop. So yes, looks like, well, 1 out of the last 4, it rose shortly after. But the other 3, yeah, a little bit of a pullback there. That makes sense. So yeah, just looking at it logically here, usually P date dips. Okay, yep, the pay date. Yep, so that exactly what I was thinking, Malcolm. Exactly what I was just looking at it logically here. If we go back, that's just 4 examples. Let's do a couple more here. Pay, be careful because this one's rise. This one rose. That one rose a lot. So I wouldn't say necessarily, if I look more historically, those pay dates, a little bit of a jump. And this is just Apple, right? So whatever stock you're thinking about as far as your dividend, I would do the same thing. Just look what it does historically, right? This right here, the last 2 years, so I give you about 8 earnings, right? I'd look at it like that. If more often than not it drops or rises, make the decision based on that, right? Because each stock could, theoretically perform a little bit different just on these X dates and pay dates, right? So just because Apple historically, at least the last 3 out of 4, took a little dip. Let's see here, 1 year. Yeah, no, good question though. Good question. But yeah, if I got a stock here, dividend stock, I would just use the X dates, check them off, and just see historically how the stock responds. All right, let's get to it here. Joey, switch me to full screen. Or actually, I can do that. Screen capture. There we go. Boom. Gotcha. All right. And I didn't realize we weren't in full screen. So what I meant by that is go down here and go to this dividend date, and that'll show you. And then just historically look and see. But right now, the last 3, there's a little bit of a dip, right? Last 3 is a little bit of a dip. Each stock could. Should we short Oracle on earnings? Ooh, I'm not going to give you an answer until I look at it. I'm not going to give you an answer until I look at it here. But look, looking at the major indices here, 3 yellow lights across the board, and that red light on RT Friday. Don't miss on that. I'd be less concerned about buying more stocks right now and more concerned about protecting existing profits, especially if you're just a swing trader, trying to get the Santa rally, right? Just trying to get the Santa rally. Yes, in theory, when a company pays a dividend, the stock price often drops by approximately the amount of the dividend per share on the X. Oh, okay. A little bit more in-depth analysis there. Again, I'm not a dividend expert. I don't try to pretend to be things I don't. Yeah, Pennywise, let's get into it. Broadcom has earnings this week. All right, let's look at those. Let's look. So I got some stories, big things going on. We got some things that could, put some crumpus on our holiday spirit this year. And what I mean by that, today, no economic data. Tomorrow, job openings. Delayed report, obviously that could affect the market. But Wednesday, and really this week in general, this is what it's all about. FOMC interest rate decision, right? So leading up to Wednesday, volatility, expect it. Just expect it, right? Expect it. This can move any stock right here. Now after the FOMC, right? Thursday, initial jobless claims, right? Friday, a couple of the Fed speakers, wholesale inventories, that would definitely could be important there. But initially, it's all going to come back to FOMC and what Fed Chair Powell has to say, right? That's what it's got to be about this week. Now, as far as earnings, yes, one was already mentioned. That's going to be Broadcom. We've got a lot of Broadcom is going to be the biggest market cap by far, it looks like. But Toll Brothers, a couple of little smaller companies in here. I think it was Tuesday. Broadcom. Oh, GameStop. We're going to talk about GameStop. I know I'm not, you know me, I'm not a meme trader by any chance, but there's some interesting things about GameStop I just want to put on your radar. AVAV, Aero Environment, right? That's a popular one, especially defense stock. Oracle, Adobe on Wednesday. Adobe, I'm a little nervous about. We're going to take a look at the VectorVest system here. But see here, Oracle, we got Mountain. Oh, I think Tuesday was a Quantum. Where's it? ARC? Maybe it's Wednesday. Might be Wednesday here. I do have XZO in the list. One of these days it has ARC Quantum. Broadcom, Thursday. So Wednesday, interest rate decision. Thursday after the bell, Broadcom, right? So Wednesday, Thursday, pivotal days in the market, right? Pivotal days. AVAV is another one to watch. Yes, that one is in the list here. I saw it somewhere. It was ARQQ. ARQQ here. It might have been scroll through because it's got a smaller market cap. But it's in the list too. So if you're holding Quantum, obviously that could either hurt Quantum this week or bring some renewed confidence in Quantum. Just be careful with that one though. We're going to take a look at it and see. Now, as far as this story, this gets interesting, right? Adobe, I remember when I had my first beer. Adobe's been under pressure lately. As far as AI developments, especially this generative AI, it's been hurting Adobe, right? So we're going to take a look at Adobe and see. That's one I'm definitely more concerned about. Broadcom, just that, partnership with Google, TPUs, they got things they could easily enthuse investors about, right? Now, as far as evaluation, yes, Broadcom a little overvalued when it comes to VectorVest software. I get that. All right, let's see here. But this is interesting. Paramount Skydance launches hostile bid for Warner Brothers to finish what we started, right? Netflix tried to take this deal from under them Friday, right? Well, now today, they're going all in, all cash, $30 per share offer. Netflix won a bidding war for the Warner Brothers film studio and HBO Max streaming service, but is not planning to buy WDB's TV networks. That is awesome, because they're still sticking to their roots, right? They don't want those old TV networks. Netflix is the one who pretty much put them out of business, right? And I already got the email on my Netflix account. I'm already excited because I'm going to get those access to HBO shows that I have to buying and stuff. And it does give them an opportunity to bring some more content in there. But I like this deal. But I will say this. Don't jump in on Netflix quite yet. We got old Trump is here, right? His son-in-law, Kushner, backs Paramount bid, right? So I'm not going to touch any of these with a 10-foot pole right now. But I'm going to tell you why I think Netflix is going to have some opportunities on the horizon here soon. Now, the next company I did want to talk about is going to be Marvel Technologies' Celestial AI acquisition. Game changer, right? We've talked about Marvel before. The stock is down 10% today, right? Down 10%. So if you're holding it, yes, probably a rough day for you. Not going to lie. I'm waiting for Netflix. I'm waiting for Netflix too. And in full disclosure, actually gave my mom a heads up because I want her to purchase some Netflix here soon. When we get to the chart, you'll see exactly why I told her the price I told her to look out for. And she's not a trader, so I'm not looking for a pivot level or anything like that. She's an investor, right? She's an investor. I've tried to do the pivot thing with her before, and it doesn't work out well. Can you check Etsy? We can definitely check Etsy. We can definitely do that. But let's see. Looking at Marvel real quick. Position as critical AI infrastructure player benefiting from robust data center. Look at this. XPU. I'm going to do some research on XPUs, right? If you know what an XPU is, put it in the comment section. I do vaguely. I'm not going to pretend like I'm an expert on it. Marvel delivered record revenue, $2.1 billion, up 37% year over year. 51% gross margin, and data center products now comprise 73% of total revenue, right? They're going where the money is. Data centers, right? And this acquisition of Celestial AI is supposed to help with that, right? Photonic fabric technology. Who else have I talked about photonics for, right? Poet Technologies. Leading selling revenue growth prospects 2026 and beyond. The acquisition strengthens Marvel's core business and helps the industry shift from electrical signals to optical interconnects. I'll be honest with you. This morning, me and my cousin, we've been texting back and forth all morning. Where is it here? I'm just gonna show you something. What? Where is it at here? Energy efficient AI machine learning chips. And more importantly, runtime cost at scale is the future of tech. Energy efficiency, photonics, right? Poet was a stock I mentioned. And hey, Poet, it's still on my radar. Marvel, going in the same route, same direction, probably a different technique. You'd have to do your research on it here. But the fundamentals with this company, much better than Poet. You know, Poet's a speculative play. You know, if that technology comes to fruition, yeah, you could easily have a 10Xer in the bag. If it doesn't, manage that risk, right? But if you want a little safer pick, Marvel, we're going to take a look at it in the software here. But I just want to put it on your radar. And it's down 10% today. So let's see if there's a bargain out there. All right, now let's get to it. UAMY. Friday night, I did a video. My first stock pick of 2026. Tonight will be my second stock pick of 2026. And yes, it's going to be UAMY. Not giving you all the details yet. What about water cooling? That is important, Jazz, but why do you have to cool? Because things aren't efficient. They run hot, right? So if I can have a data center that has to be cooled, it costs a lot less money, right? So yeah, water cooling is important. And think about it. If these chips do become more energy efficient and less heating and stuff like that, what was the first stock of 2026? It's Friday's video. I'm not telling you. Gotta watch it. And watch it in its entirety, because I already told y'all how I felt about that stock. As soon as the intro scene was over, what did I say? Nip it in the butt. I know I said it wrong. It's supposed to be bud. But definitely watch it. It's a really good video. Now, UAMY, we talked about this. Well, not we. I started talking about this stock. I think it was like last October. I can just find out where the descending channel is when we go to the chart. But it's been about a year now, at least. This company all has to do with defense now. Right? Defense and the growth, astronomical growth, right? Yeah, the company could drop the ball easily. But what I'm seeing here, they're switching up the board members. United States Antimony appointed veteran dealmaker John, expanded 7-member board, and named him chair of a newly formed finance committee. His deep capital markets background, including advisory work on more than $285 billion in transactions, could be more important as the company manages its new multi-year defense and industrial supply commitments. Commitments, right? Because think about it, UAMY, because they're trying to scale. Have you seen the sales growth rate? And VectorVest is over 300%, right? But if they can't scale right, it's all going to come tumbling down, because every other company out there is trying to chase after these rare earths now. We already know that. And the investors, they're pouring into them, right? But I still like this company. Now, rare earth critical minerals, it's going to be on my radar in 2026. So if they don't use water, they plan to use nitrogen. What about, Jazz, what about a chip that you don't have to cool? Or what about a chip you only have to cool maybe 20% compared to an existing chip, right? They sometimes use newer refrigerants, right? Buy UAMY for New Year. All right, we're going to talk about UAMY. We're going to talk about all these good stocks here. 12:15, just making sure I'm on pace here. Let's get out of here. But I do like the switch up they are doing in the board. That's kind of where I was going with the UAMY. All right, market still not looking too good today, right? I'm not going to say go out there and buy, all right? Underlying trend still intact, 1.06. Hey, still here. One day does not equal trend. Primary wave is still up. Still like it. Let's go to viewers. Oh, meant to add UAMY. Let's go to earnings first. All right, these are the stocks for earnings as far as deals this week going into earnings. Look at this, Restoration Hardware. I know that stock plummeted. A lot of people are buying the dip of it. It is undervalued, but the momentum, not quite there. I'm going to take a look at the chart. I haven't looked at it in the last few weeks here. Adobe feeling the pressure, but this is where the value is, right? Value, we're currently $491, way undervalued right now. currently trading at 340. Investors not willing to pay premium. One of the biggest scares is a lot of this generative AI is putting a lot of pressure on Adobe, right? Now, as far as some of these other companies, very speculative in nature here. Very speculative in nature. You see very overvalued at the bottom of the list here. AVAV 0.41, uranium 0.15, quantum, right? Manage that premium here. So what company is selling the cooling? There's quite a few different cooling companies. There's quite different types of cooling stuff. So they don't use water. They plan to use hydrogen. There's been some creative ways. I don't know if you've seen these underwater data centers for cooling purposes. HVAC. Yeah, HVAC companies. Yeah, there's definitely a way to do that. But again, that's one of the most significant cost is cooling it down, right? The energy to make this. So if they can make it, these chips, that's what everybody's trying to do right now. Why I think the TPUs, Google, so popular. That's literally was like 5 messages after the one that my cousin just sent me. Let's see, your Dell, VRT, SNI, HP all do liquid cooling. Yeah, so it was iron. Yes, Ollie G, it was iron. You put it in the comment section. Someone did it. But you better watch that video because I didn't say go out and buy it. I did not say it. Did not say it. All right, let's take a look at these stocks. Let's graph them here. All right, so for earnings perspective, this isn't a bad layout. We got value, we got earnings, we got sales here. Let's take a look. Let's take earnings growth rate. Add forecasted earnings here, forecasted EPS, current sales value. All right, let's take a look here. Price act value jumped up. So from a value perspective, I like it, but look at the value now dropping, right? Price action dropping. Earnings growth rate, 18%. I will say, a year ago, this company probably had to deliver stellar earnings, right? To, lure investors for that premium. Here, maybe not so much. I don't think it'll be hard because I know a lot of this was caused by the tariffs, but the sales is increasing. Earnings growth rate is increasing. EPS also higher from here. Not bad. Here's Adobe. Look at this value dropping. Actually, value just jumped up here a little bit. I'd have to see value tick up because this is the chart pattern I don't like to see, right? Adobe. Value dropping, price dropping. Now, we might be in the beginning of value starting to turn around and rising, right? And if price action can follow, especially maybe take out this prior swing high here, we might just be looking at value rising, price rising here soon, right? But I want to see that value tick up some more. Where's the date line here? If we can get above 500, 491, continue that upward momentum, I like it. Because look at the value just dropping here. But once price action get above this line, if I can get a little bit more life and value, might not be a bad bottom fish. But right now, I don't see it. I see more risk than I do reward right now. Earnings per share on the rise here. Growth rate and earnings 14%. Not bad. Not bad. But the company's under a lot of pressure right now. Here's Rev G, value on the rise, price action on the rise. It's not bad, but this is it right here. But this might just be a good trade setup here. But look at this. All right. If we get a gap up here, I could potentially see a gap up with rejection right at this line because you see that first rejection here. Look for the gap up on earnings, but if it's not over 60 and if it's not over this trend line here, could be getting some rejection real quick from that. Here's XZO. This is a software company. Now this is, I can get excited about, right? Because normally when we get companies, IPO or new to the database, the value, look how quickly the value is jumping up on the stock. 16.19 right now, trading at 17.65. I'd give it a couple more days. You might be able to get it undervalued. As far as earnings here, growth rate 18%. This doesn't look bad, honestly, especially for a brand new company. RH is a retailer. Retailers are no good, Ryan. Boring. But these are just earnings. Don't act like I just put these stocks out. This is just going over some earnings here. But this one, software company, if you're feeling a little bit more spicy, this one might give you some opportunities here. I like that value. It's a new forecast report. I mean, this value only shot up a couple days ago, 4 days ago. Let's see if this value could shoot up a little bit more here. The earnings per share is moving in the right direction. Growth rate faltered, but just went from 19 to 18%. Nothing crazy. This is a new stock, but this one actually got my attention. CPB, Campbell's, man, after what that guy said, and look at the chart, look at the value, I'd short it. That's why I don't see any kind of bullish inclination here. Earnings per share is dropping, growth rate -1. Now this could be a good short. Toll Brothers, look at that, value's dropping, price drop, but the value just not coming in, because you can see I don't know if the retail or not, but you see the traders coming in, nice little pivot there, but the value just keeps dropping. Earnings per share keeps dropping. Growth rate now dropped to 2% here. So it's funny you say that, Ali G. So the Gemini 3, you guys want to talk about this, is another part of our conversation I have with my cousin. He's talking about how OpenAI is pretty worried about Google's new Gemini. I think it's Gemini 3 model, he said. I'll have to look at it again. But I like Google. I talked about it a lot when it was way undervalued compared to our valuation here, especially compared to some of those other Mag 7s. I still like Google. Earnings per share, but this company, I'm not going to like. Too much risk, not enough reward. This one's interesting. Look at the value rising. Even though it's trading at a premium, value's rising up with it. Earnings per share, sales on the move, growth rate moving up to 6%. I like it a lot. I've been loading up on Google. I'm not gonna lie. I think Google's probably honestly, I gotta see if my mom's in Google. She should probably own a little bit. I ain't going nowhere. And with the TPUs, because that is one of the best advancements since the GPU, right? It's much more energy efficient. That's why it's garnishing a lot of attention right now. Yeah, it's not as flexible as a GPU, but maybe Google can work on that. I don't know, but if that TPU at some point can become as flexible as a GPU, that could definitely be some competition for NVIDIA. But I still like NVIDIA. I think instead of trying to guess which one is going to win or whatever, I think both are going to win. I think that's pretty much the logic my cousin's using. Google, TSM, Taiwan Semi, NVIDIA, if you're a semiconductor holder, one of those three, if not three, should be in the holdings. Or there's an ETF probably out there with those three in there easily, right? But those should be some core holdings. GameStop, this is what I want to talk about GameStop here. Look at this value. GameStop, yeah, I know it's a meme stock, whatever. It's got earnings this week. The options probably finally, hopefully, coming down to a reasonable price. But look at the value sneaking up on us here. You see that? Look at the value. It went from $9 now to $17.91. I know GME, this could be a headache for sure. So if you're not a disciplined, an active trader, definitely probably not from an investment perspective. But this one's got my attention here. This one definitely has my attention, because if anything can fuel the retailers to come out and push the stock to crazy levels, earnings is an easy way to do that. Olds game sticked. What does that mean? What are you saying, Neil? But just because the value is jumping up, it's got my attention. They're trying to act like MSTR. I did hear that. Is that why? Because if you add MSTR, and actually MSTR, if you're looking for Bitcoin on a value, last time I looked, I'm almost positive that MicroStrategy is trading less than their Bitcoin holdings. And you actually see it's less than the value. So if you actually want to get into Bitcoin undervalued, which I didn't think was really possible, MicroStrategy, right? But I've never been a fan of MicroStrategy, and you can see why. Look at it, popped up because it's crypto, so no surprise, but it's crashing back down. So at these levels, I could see the logic of MicroStrategy, but way up here at 500, no. But definitely look at Bitcoin, see what it's doing before you make any decision on that. Now here's Oracle. Earnings per share is rising. Sales ticking up. Growth rate faltered to 12%. Not bad at all here. I don't like this down day. And we got a little pivot here. Gap fill. It's hard. I'm not going to give an earnings prediction on Oracle by any means. But as far as price action here, I'm not really liking it. I'm not necessarily liking it here. And let's just see. Let's add a moving average. Let's go to simple. Let's raise this to 40. Exactly. That's what my cousin said. that the TPUs don't have to, they could work in synchronicity, right? And that's even what he said about the quantums, the QPUs. His theory is that these QPUs, TPU, whatever it is, they work in conjunction with each other, right? Quantum processing unit is not necessarily going to, replace a GPU, right? But if you're holding quantum, you don't want my cousin's perspective on quantum stocks. It's Mike Glenn's pretty poopy perspective. But as far as Oracle here, I see a catch around the 200. So if you are catching this, I do like that 200 move right in there. So from a technical perspective, I actually do like that. From value and stuff, it's a little iffy. Now, if I'm going to put a target, if this pivot were to continue, probably look at the bottom of this gap. Might be a first target. Otherwise, 262, right around the prior, the swing high here. GME will never die. Alex, what are you talking about? Debt piling on. What are you talking about that? All right, Vail Resorts. Well, I would say once it gets back up to this 200, shorting it typically works out pretty well recently. You see that, right? Not a bad idea. Overvalued, earnings per share is falling, growth rate negative. What's a ski company? Is actually, I think they own the ski resort my mom's at. They got them all over the place here. All right. Ology, I made a lot of money shorting MicroStrategy. I've said it. Who remembers me saying that the best opportunity, the next best opportunity when it comes to Bitcoin will be from a derivative bubble, right? Well, MicroStrategy going from 500 to about what? 180. I think I'm seeing some kinks in that derivative bubble, right? Bitcoin didn't do much in 2025. It did exactly what I thought it would do. The cup and handle. I don't know if y'all remember that last fall. Did a lot of videos on that. Bitcoin's cup and handle that came to fruition. I did the symmetry line. I think my target was around 118, 122,000. Look where Bitcoin's high was. It filled out, or that cup and handle came out exactly as it should have been, right? I am shorting MicroStrategy since you first talked negative about it a long time ago. Well, Ology, I'll be honest. If you did do that, now that there's some value opportunities there, just be careful with those shorts now, right? I've been playing MicroStrategy leverage ETFs. Okay. And I like, was it Sailor, the guy? But, instead of sticking to core principles, I mean, his whole life revolves around Bitcoin. So it's hard to believe what he says now, right? He's got so much skin in the game. But some of his points I do get. Here's Broadcom, right? This is the reason why I like Google over Broadcom, because Broadcom, look, it's way overvalued. It has been way overvalued, right? If I just go to Google, I'm not saying I didn't like Broadcom, we'll just do, not Goo. We'll just do Goo. You can see like value, undervalued, right? Or sorry, overvalued. That was February 2000. Let's go to 1 year. Why is it on 4 years? 1 year. Boom, there we go. Undervalued. Look, value on the rise, price action on the rise. Look how many support levels I had. If I put one more line there, I might as well. So yeah, I still like it, but guess what? It's overvalued right now. If I'm looking for kind of a pullback, if you got some patience on Google, 258. If Google comes back down to 258, I might have to message my mom on that. It's not a bad one. But I still like Google. Just, the valuation. See, Broadcom just overvalued here. That's my only problem with the earnings right now. It's got reasons why it can, get investors screwed. Or get investors, sorry, I read that comment. Get investors enthused. But just from a value perspective, Google just looked more attractive, and Broadcom is riding off the sales of Google essentially with their TPUs, right? Because Broadcom and MediaTek helped design those TPUs, and then now TSM is the main manufacturer. I think Broadcom has a little help in that as well, if I remember correctly. But as far as the data here, sales on the rise, EPS growth rate, everything's phenomenal here. It's just trading out a premium, right? So again, my personal feeling, and I've seen this a lot since in the last 2 years, but when a company, especially a well-known tech company, is so overvalued, it's got to bring more to the table at earnings, right? Investors got to say, I'm willing to pay that premium, right? I think the TPUs might be able to deliver that. Good news this week. Here's synopsis. The value is just dropping like crazy. Stock charts everywhere. This is an earnings one, not a good one. Sienna looks good. Might actually get a breakout from this prior swing high here. A little bit of a breather. You can see the stock on a run, but look at the value too. I'm telling you, fiber optics. I've done a couple videos on that. I think I stopped doing videos on that just because nobody really watched them. But fiber optics, I mean, my whole point on the first video was everyone, thinks satellites, but that's not how most data is transferred. It's fiber optic cables under the sea. That's how the world still works. It's been like that for a while. These companies only going to become more and more important as more and more data goes through these cables, right? You see the value rising, everything, growth rates rising, earnings per share is rising, the sales is rising. Just right now, it's trading at a little bit of a premium here. NVIDIA chips are a hybrid model that perform TPU capabilities but have the GPU capabilities also. CUDA is what keeps NVIDIA ahead of the competition. Yes, that is the moat. My cousin also believes that. AVGO will make Google's TPU question. I don't think they're making them. Don't quote me on that. But I know they had a role in designing them with MediaTek. TSM is the main manufacturer there. That's why, whether you think Google's going to win, NVIDIA, AMD, Quantum, whatever it is, it all goes back to TSM, right? It all goes back to Taiwan Semiconductor. So just know that. As far as AVAV here, from a valuation, it's just way overvalued. And look at the trend line here. Got a nice touch from the bottom. What I'm seeing right now is rejection. So I know it's got earnings this week, but if it doesn't get back above this trend line, especially, I do like this little pivot here. If we gap down, you see the 200 came in right in my little support zone here. That might be a little pivot for my swing traders out there. Otherwise, for my investors, it lost its long-term trend. So I'm going to trade the chart, not my heart. And I'm going to stand by that sell recommendation right now. And it might jump up this week. I don't know, but it's a lot more risk than reward right now. Here's UEC. Nice little pivot off of there. I'll be honest, I think it's going to come right here. Look at that 200 moving in right into the swing high here. It's got a lot of reasons, way overvalued. And value's dropping, earnings per share is dropping. Nope. If it breaks back below this line here, just be careful. But definitely that 200. I for some reason, something just wants me to say that. Just be careful. I'm looking at that 200. Or more importantly, that if we give it a little leeway, some time, and that 200 will make its way back up to this support here. But just be careful. Just be careful. I'm just holding my AVAV position, but won't be adding here. But anyway, and again, I don't know where you guys bought your stocks at. If you're an AVAV, $100, $150, yeah, what happens up here probably is not too much of a concern for you in the short term, right? But just make sure you stick to whatever plan you had in place. Here's Arc Quantum. They've got earnings this week. No, I don't like anything about this stock. I'm not going to say the stock, the chart. The chart, this is a swing trader's paradise right here. Now, if you're an investor holding on this, yeah, you probably just going to stress you out. But this looks like a swing. I like swing trading on these quantum stocks. There's not much value in this space. And this one clearly showing that. No, earnings per share is dropping. Growth rate, sales, 24. So yeah, not much sales either. No, I'm not going to be too excited about that one. Planet Labs, aerospace and defense manufacturer here, has been taking off lately. This one I thought was interesting just because it's aerospace defense. Look at that. Momentum is there. And this one I'm going to do like AVAV. Why overthink it? This stock was $5. It jumped up to 50. Tell you what, we got a gap here. We got a trend line near that gap. We got 200. This is interesting. I want to be a buyer today, especially going to earnings. I get closer to this trend line because that 200 is moving right up to it. All right, here's Netscope. Not much doubt. Sorry. It's just overvalued. The stock's in its own way. Look, if I look at the bottom of this consolidation, pretty much we're in a channel, dipped out to the bottom of the channel, coming back up, first day back in the channel here. Now, if I want to see some momentum, I want to get above this channel. This thing might just show some momentum here. All right, I'm just holding my AVA. See here, AVGI is heavily involved in Google's TPU development, so I'm betting their earnings will be pretty good. Yeah, that's what I said. If anything could get excited for investors, because again, big tech, at least me personally, I've seen it, doing this for the past few years now. If they're overvalued, they got to have something stellar to say on that earnings report, right? And if they don't, typically you'll see the gap down. I still like Broadcom. Let's see here. Let's go to these news picks real quick. What is it, 1240? Oh, yeah, I wanted some time. I want to look at some industries and sectors real quick. I'm going to get your stock picks as well. If this thing will load. Oh, man. Did I break it? There we go. I mean, my computer's been running slow today. All right, so Celestica here up 3%. Nice. Marvel. Okay, it's a little bit of that 9-10% is going away here. Warner Brothers up 3%. Skydance. Paramount's going to be the winner of this because they're talking about what, $30 buyout. Let's take a look. The only one they hear undervalued, Skydance, Paramount. Look at the valuation. What's the value? 1844. So yeah, there's some value there with that stock. Graph all. Let's graph these here. Oh wait, no, not. This was not even the right one. It's not supposed to be in here. Sorry. Let's see here. Marvel. Let's graph these here. Look at this. Value jumping up, price jumping down. So for my investors who have some interest in Marvel, I think some opportunities might be on the horizon here. Now, I'm not jumping in today. If you're holding it, hey. Let's see here. Definitely wanted to hold above 84. But look at that. That value is jumping right along with price here. That's interesting. I think anything below 90 probably going to be a good investment opportunity here. But I really just want price to stay above 84. And I do like how now my level of support is actually below our valuation here. But yeah, I'm not going to be a buyer of it today. The gap down. You got to see what this gap down. I haven't checked the news on this too much. Anybody know what happened with Marvel today? Let's see, Marvel. Marvel stock down as Microsoft mold switch to Broadcom for customer chips. Broadcom, Google. It's TPUs, right? What's good for one is probably bad for the other. So yeah, I'm not going to be a buyer of this as of today. I think we get this undervalued here with some patience. I think we can get it undervalued with some patience. Let's take a look at this other one here. News today, Microsoft might go with, yeah, thank you for that, by the way. Yeah, that's not good. It's not good, right? And I've said this before. I really did have a good conversation with my cousin today. What did he say here? He did say quantum stocks are stupid right now. Don't buy into them. He's funny. Let's see, where was it at here? There are dozens of companies claiming they can do it, but none can do it at scale. Google's TPU is the closest thing so far. We're talking about competition to what could be better than NVIDIA's GPU. He works for databases, so yeah. But again, he's not saying he still owns NVIDIA. I think his three largest holdings are TSM, NVIDIA, and AMD, if I had to guess. So he definitely holds a lot of semis. All right, Warner Brothers. Look at the value. It's just. Yeah, they're paying a premium. $30. That would be a premium for that. I think you should go to Netflix. Look at this. Netflix is dropping. This doesn't look like an opportunity, right? Look at the value just dropped here. Overextended, the EPS, growth rate, all that stuff. But look at Netflix. Price is dropping. Yeah, the 200. Look at the break in the 200. But it's coming to our value. Have some patience for it. Have some patience. This one might just work out good here. If I'm looking for levels, going back here. Good. We broke that. We broke it. Good. So here, we're approaching that. Anything below 90, fair value. I like that. We'll see. Can you do a penny stock for trading for 2026? May be top 10 penny stocks. Hey, it's not a bad idea. I could do pennies. Penny stocks are dangerous. They're dangerous. They're dangerous. Even though my best stock pick ever was UAMY, was a penny stock. Maybe I should do penny stocks. Now I think about it, Ollie G, you might be onto something. Maybe I should do more penny stocks. But Netflix, no, I'm not going to be buyer today. Fresh sell rating. But you could see the opportunities potentially on the horizon here. And it's a game changer, this company. And with this pullback, I like the opportunities that are presenting itself here. All right, here's UAMY. We're going to look back here. So there's the channel. So this would have been November. Yeah, just over a year. I'm talking about UAMY, right? So tonight's video is going to be on UAMY. That's why I'm not touching it much, right? Marvel stock, biggest loser from Amazon's new chip. Yeah, Amazon. Yeah, if you think about it, Mag 7 companies, these data centers, what's their number one cost? Computer chips, other than energy, right? So yes, now, these Mag 7 companies got a lot of money, right? They've been, getting into the chip business lately, right? I should probably do a video on the chip wars. That could be an interesting video. Let's see here. But UAMY, see these two lines I've been drawing? I'm going to go forward and forward. Look at the value rising with it, right? Earnings per share rising, growth rate rising. If I use, do I have sales growth rate? I don't have it here, but I don't need it. See these two lines? That's what we're going to talk about tonight. Those two lines there. Those two lines. I wish I would have bought it myself. And if I didn't have, that was probably about $6,000 to $8,000 in automobile repairs last Christmas season, I would have bought some of this sucker. Trust me. But I told you I was paying off credit card debt. All that's paid off. Now I got cash. I'm not going to miss on the next opportunity of UAMY. Scroll this forward. Look at this. Swing traders paradise here. Investors paradise. Everybody's happy with UAMY. No, I'm not going to finish the chart because we're going to talk about it this evening. All right, next stock here, Skydance Media. Nice pivot off the 200. The value drop in here. Again, there's going to be a lot of volatility here with these stocks, with these deals and everything. How do you think AREC is now comparing with UAMY? If I had to guess, that stock's going to be on my video. And if I had to guess, I'm probably going to treat it like I did with Friday's video. I'm going to take a logical perspective. Data Vault was a penny. It was. And apparently I told y'all I think it was last week or the week before. When I saw that head and shoulders on, let's get rid of this. I'm not a fan either. When I saw that head and shoulders on Data Vault, I got out of it. And I think it's right back to where I initially bought it at. I'm tracking Data Vault since it was 20 cents. Invested, made me money quickly. Just be careful with Data Vault. I know they got the new office in Philly, and they've got some things going on in Georgia. Well, we can take a look at it as well. I know they're all ones. Yeah, that is true. Maybe we need to go back to some penny stocks here. All right, let me empty this. Empty watch list. Go ahead and hit that like button. Go ahead and hit it. Go ahead and hit it. I see Mari, M-A-R-E-Y. That'll be an honorable mention here. Today, I'm going to go by the likes. Hit that like button. And while we're taking a look at some industry charts, what did Glenn say? Every 10 likes is one stock. All right, computer makers. Let's see here. Industry. Let's go to industry. Memory devices. Look at that. A lot of value here. Just careful. Now, not much more of a value opportunity here. And I'm just curious what old Micron's doing today. That's probably 243. Nice. Good job, Micron. All right. Still like that space. Let's go down here. Semiconductors manufacturing. Look at the premium manufacturers. Be careful of that. Again, you know which manufacturer I like. And it's undervalued right now. And it's the king of the space. Unfortunately, anything outside of TSM, I'm going to put in the realm of speculation because TSM, they're a monster. There's a reason why we want their technology stateside, right? There's a reason why we're building that huge fab in Arizona. All right, semiconductors look good. And honestly, we might be getting a breakout here soon on semis. ETFs, currency, other, crypto, telling you, Bitcoin, it broke that trend. I'm not, I like crypto, but now's not the time for crypto. I think 2026 might be different just because 2025 was not a good year for crypto. The cup and handle was the move in late 2024, which try to put you on. If you did, you made some money, hit the like button. Let's see here. Otherwise, what utilities? Nope, not going to go in utilities. Unless those dividends make sense to you. Crypto, I like the value moving up in the right direction, but still way overvalued, right? Crypto, AI, if you can get something fairly valued, undervalued, do some research, but typically that's where some money can be greatly made here. All right, let's go down. Let's go to sector real quick, actually. Let's do petroleum. We got rejection. As I know, petroleum was showing some sneaky trades there, I think last week on the live streams, but look, we're still in the channel here. Sector-wise, be careful. There might be some industries poking out, but as far as the sector as a whole, still channeling. Mining. Let's see what mining's doing here. Look, came back to our valuation. I could see it. Yeah, I want to stay above 9.65. Still looks good for mining. Let's go to defense, aerospace and defense. Yeah, it just hasn't done much of anything. I've said that about a month or two ago. I think it just needed a breather. It's overvalued. It's hard to say, but I'm not liking it as much as I once did. That's for sure. All right, let's see here. How many likes we got? All right, 6 stocks it is. First 6 stocks coming across. Let's talk about them. Where does Eli Lilly have support? Twilio, better put it in. Better put it in. 6 stocks. Rocket Lab, okay. ONDS. Oh, you did make it. Nice. So I should have 7. That's 6. One more. ISSC. That's it. Eli Lilly support. It's got a buy rating. It's got a buy rating here. Nothing crazy going on there. Value. Let's see what the value. ISSC value. Ondas value. Let's make these a little bigger here so you guys can see this. That's my value plays. Rocket Lab. Greatly overvalued, but hey, I can see why they're paying at a premium here. Let's look at the forecasted data on this one. It's got good numbers, but that's a premium. Stick to the chart on that one. Ondas hold. Look at sales growth rate, 582. Earnings growth rate, 24. How much is this one? 954. Write this one down. ONDS. I've heard of it. I know you guys have mentioned it before. All right, let's take a look at some value. RV. Even though it's overvalued, it's got RV above 1. Makes me feel a little better. This one's undervalued. RV above 1. Fairly valued. RV just above 1. Safety, not a whole lot of safety. Eli Lilly. All right, let's take a look at the charts here. I'm curious. Holy moly. This is what I'll talk about, them secret petroleum stocks. Don't you miss some undercover petroleum. And this is what I would look at. Let's look. Oh, no, I was trying to highlight field services. Let's take a look here. I'm going to see if we can get some fish today. View stocks and industry group. View industry graph. Look at that. Doesn't look like the oil sector chart, right? We actually see momentum to the upside. The sector, it was in a channel, right? Perfect time to the side. Just, moving to the side. So if you want some fish in these petroleum stocks, these are the fish. Oh, S&D's at the top of the list here. We got FET, Pump, OIS, Infinity Natural Resources. These are the ticker symbols. Definitely, when you get a moment, may want to take a look at these. Seems like a pretty hot spot, or a pretty hot space recently. All buy recommendations. A little bit of a dip on some of those. GPUS. I'm not adding it because you put it there. I'm adding it because I'm wondering if it's the company. I think it is. And if it is, 28 cents. It is the one I'm thinking it is. All right, I'm going to add it as an honorable mention here. All right, let's look at these graphs. Yeah, the momentum is there. Yeah, I would not suggest buying it at $4. It's not where I'd want my entry. That's for sure, right at the top. But what does have me enthused here is look at the value jumping up a price here, right? So even if it's overvalued now, but look at, I like it. I like this move. Maybe put a 20-day EMA on here, something, as far as a pivot on a pullback. I'm not going to chase that on the high. And if you're already in it, you got to ask yourself if you're going to take profits. You look at something like a Star Search, or, if you want to take a little bit off the table, with as much profit as possible, probably run this trend line up, honestly. It might make it pretty tight, especially in the next day or two when this line moves up quicker and quicker and quicker, right? And actually that line is coming in right in our valuation. And I do see 3 candlesticks here. So if we do get a little pullback, maybe look right in this area. Was that 325, 350, somewhere in there? That could be a good move, actually. But this sucker's running. So be careful. Protect those profits. I'm not saying sell it today by any means, but just don't let those profits run from you. But still, I like that, actually. I like it a lot. All right, here's Eli Lilly. Ooh. Yeah, I could see why you asked where support was. And then clearly I've got a line right here, 938. That was a clear breakout. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it came back down there for the retest. It's already come back this far. So that's where I'm looking. You see the prior swing high here. You could see the consolidation right at this prior swing high. So that's where I would look. As far as value, it is moving up. I do like that. Stock just ran from its valuation here. Looks like it's coming into correction, and not in that sense necessarily, but that's the level I would look at for. Now, if value could keep moving up and this stock get around 938, might not be bad, but that is not a stock chart I like in general. Over the last year, that would give me a headache, right? So that would be my caveat with this position. If I go to 5 years, 5 years looks better. 5 years. So long term does look better here. But still, that line, because these are going to be weekly candlesticks. And I see the touches there, right there. So yeah, I'm still thinking 938. Again, I have no crystal ball. Look at the value. It's jumping up here. This is. Let's look at a year. That's a year. Let's look at 5 years. This is what's got my concern right here. At 1087, I know today we're coming back up to that, but you can see my first obstacle, you could say, or resistance. This level. Shoulder, not necessarily a pretty shoulder here. Just be careful with that. But overall, I like that value. Earnings per share rising with growth rate, 26% sales. Let's see if the sales are rising. Sales are rising. I like it. And as far as a technical perspective, you can see my support level. Obviously, that zone is now resistance. Look at the 200-day. So a lot of reasons why I could see rejection here. Yeah, we're not seeing that follow through today, so I'm not going to say run out and sell it today, but definitely keep this one on your radar. I like that value, and I like the earnings per share. I like everything, just not the technicals right now. So and where we're at with those technicals, right? But stock itself, I like it. And it looks like, did we fill this gap? We did not. We came all that way, didn't fill the gap. So just be careful you do get rejection here. Just because, from a trader looking at this chart, I like it if we felt this gap, right? We went so close. CTEX. What's going on with this stock? Let's go 6 months. No. 3 months. No. I don't know what's going on with this one, but if it continues to run, I'm going to look at this 200-day here, right? Went from, let's see here, Dateline. From an investor, no. If you're a trader, you better be disciplined because I don't know what's about to happen with this thing. But the stock was what? $3 up to 10. Yeah, if this thing takes out today's upper wick here, this thing could easily launch that 200-day moving average. I don't know, but I'm not the biggest fan of this one. And just looking at 1 year, you see the reverse split here. No. Here's Ondas. I see the value moving. I see the earnings per share growth rate looks good. Just overstretched. If you're in this one, I mean, this is ascending channel, right? Looks like an ascending channel. Okay. Trade the chart, not your heart, right? I'll be honest with you. If we break above this channel, we've seen it plenty of times. You get a parabolic move. Whether you want to take those profits on that parabolic move or see what happens, that is on you. But you got an ascending channel here. It's actually not a bad stock chart pattern, and it's got a buy recommendation. Fundamentally not bad. It's just overvalued. But I do like this ascending channel. Ascending channels are some of the easiest trades. Like if you're new to swing trading or an investor, whatever it is, I like the ascending channel. And if it breaks the ascending channel and you're still holding on to it, whatever happens, happens, right? I don't know what's going to happen then. Let's see here. Mari. Hey, that ain't bad. I'm going to tell you right now, look at that value jumping up. Undervalued too. Steady Eddie. Let's just, 1 year. Let's look at a 5 year. Okay. Looks like the stock had to get its act together. It was trading at a premium. Value not doing much. Earnings per share. Growth rate. Pretty stagnant at 5. But once you see this growth rate starting to tick up here, look at this. Right? Growth rate comes in. Probably broke a trend line or something. The technicals made more sense, and the investors come in. And now from here on, I see price rising, value rising. This is nice, man. That's a solid stock. Yeah, this may not be your quantum swing trading stock for sure, but I like it. That's not bad. That's exactly what we look for here. Well, it is undervalued now. Obviously, it would have been nicer undervalued this whole time. But the value rising, earnings per share, growth rate, I like it. If I had to guess, I'd imagine relative safety is probably pretty decent on there, just looking at these other things. Actually, it's not. Interesting. Relative safety not there. So the safety's more in that price pattern I see and getting a sense of value. Rocket Lab. What am I going to say about this? The lines, the pivot, it just made sense. 200-day, boom, off to the races. Momentum is there. No, I don't believe the stock is going up right now because everyone thinks it's a wonderful company. And it might be. I don't know. But from a trader's perspective, this stock's going up because it's a 200-day pivot right now. Right? You can check the news and see what else is going on in the world of Rocket Lab. But for me personally, I'm not going to overthink it. It's a 200-day pivot, right? And once the pivot loses confidence, why overthink it, right? Because we ain't got no buy recommendation to come off of. And if I use RT, it's still early on the RT measurement. You see the trend is not quite getting its act together. Use this trend line here, maybe. Keep you in it, right? I wouldn't be surprised if it maybe did another pivot on this trend line. But that pivot at my support level and the 200-day, that's nice. Recent news came out about putting data centers in space. Space? They're going to do that? Hey, but it makes sense, though. Just thinking about it, why the heck would I want to buy or build a data center in Florida? All the data centers should be in Alaska because that's where it's cold, right? So I don't have to spend money to, cool them down. That's just me thinking. Well, I'm sure no one wants, not everybody wants to go move to Alaska. But me specifically, yes, putting data centers where naturally it's a colder area would save you money, right? So putting them in, Texas or Arizona, yeah, I could see those AC bills being through the roof, right? If I was going to do data, and Alaska makes more sense personally because that's a huge energy hub for the United States, right? But But these companies, they're going to be creative to figure out this problem, right? Cooling these chips down, the energy, right? Yes, Alaska. Right? I mean, it didn't take me long to put that conclusion together. Put data centers where it's cooler, so you don't have to pay to cool them down. Should I be on a board for a data center company? Does that make sense? Yeah, I can see for security reasons and other things like that, you might want them closer to other hubs you might have. People focus on launch, but space systems fabrication is Rocket Lab's secret sauce. I'm just going to write that down. Maybe we can do a video on that. Space systems fabrication. Yeah, because I get the point why some of these companies are trading at premiums, right? They have the potential to change the world. Like a quantum, company. Some of these semiconductor companies, aerospace defense, the robotics company, right? Whoever comes out with the humanoid robot, that their robot can do, majority of the task a human can do. Yeah, that company's, no surprise, will be a multi-trillion-dollar valuation. And a lot of people say it's going to be Tesla. A lot of people say other names in the hat. Who knows, right? Who knows? Because one thing I've learned about technology is it changes quickly. All right, but Rocket Lab, I like that pivot. And the trade's still there. Maybe you could use Star Search, help capture some momentum, up to you. This is stock we've talked about. You can see, look at this little pivot here. It actually broke to the 200-day, not a pivot, consolidation. You can see it broke to the downside of consolidation. And now if value would have remained high, yes, I would have thought, hey, maybe some opportunities here. But look at value just drop off like a rock. Earnings per share is ticking up. It's actually just way negative, though. No, this is a speculative play. The only thing that had me excited about this was the undervalued nature of the stock itself. And from a technical point, the biggest thing you might have going for you is if we do get a breakout above these swing highs, maybe it could run to the 200. Best case scenario, who knows? But I'm not liking the stock right now. I'm not the biggest fan of it. All right, what time is it? Ooh, 1:06. We are late. Still in red. I am not surprised. I wouldn't expect too much bullish momentum until the interest rate decision comes, right? If you want some insight on that interest rate decision, you can go to Polymarket, right? Or some of these predictive markets, right? I know a lot of people look at those. I've been looking at those, right? I even looked at the Polymarket bet for the QQQ today, which said it was going to close. I looked on that Saturday. And the bet was real good for the Bulls, and then it dropped real low for the, for the Bears, obviously. But those predictive markets, I'm just curious, how they're going to affect trading and investing going forward, right? Because if every investor and every economist is looking at, some of these markets and putting their cents in, it'll be interesting. I think it would be a rate cut, but it's already priced in the market. Interesting. Do we need a rate cut? Do we need a rate cut? And I'm not going to answer that question. But I just want to say we got to be careful with rate cuts, right? Because think about the inflation concern, or not concern, but inflation we experienced after COVID, right? We opened up the interest rates, opened up the economy, but then opened up the supply chains, right? So it's all got to make sense here. It's all got to make sense. Hope, there might be a rate cut. We'll see. I think the people convinced themselves we need one. I think they did too, Pennywise. I think they did too. I don't think we need one. That's just my 2 cents. Don't kill me. Don't kill the messenger. All right, everybody. Enjoy your afternoon. Tonight's video will be on my second 2026 pick. So definitely check out tonight's video. Take care. Bye.